We've all had that thought. Is there some kind of secret to games of chance? Well, today, we're diving into a system that claims to have found one for the lottery, promising to use data to crack the code. Let's see if it actually holds up. And that's really the big question, isn't it? Can you get a real edge? Can data actually give you an advantage in a game that's designed from the ground up to be totally unpredictable? The system we're looking at today says yes, you can. So this system makes a really bold claim. It says its method is 48 times better than just, picking numbers out of a hat. But where in the world does that number come from? And what does 48 times better even mean when you're standing there with a ticket in your hand? Okay, let's start with that claim, a 48x better guess. We're going to break down exactly what this system is saying and how it's supposed to work. Right, so any system that's worth its salt has to be able to learn from the past. What worked, what didn't. So first things first, let's take a look at the performance review from December 23rd to see how this whole strategy has been evolving. What's pretty cool is how open they are about their performance. As you can see, yesterday started off really strong, correctly predicting 2 out of the 3 numbers in that 2 p.m. draw. But whoa, look how the performance just fell off a cliff, ending with a complete miss by 9 p.m. And if we dig in a little deeper, you can see the analysis totally nailed the return of digit 0, which had been pretty quiet. It also felt pretty good when the overdue digit 1 finally showed up, but then, bam! It was completely caught off guard by the explosion of digit 1. I mean, it showed up 3 times, and they were also surprised that no doubles appeared, which kind of broke a recent pattern. So the big lesson here is pretty clear. You can never, ever fully ignore a number just because it's been cold for a while. Sometimes those are the exact digits that are getting ready for a huge comeback. So with that lesson fresh in our minds, let's see how it's shaping the forecast for today, December 24th. This is really where that past performance gets turned into a future strategy. All right, based on what happened yesterday, the system is going all in on one number, digit 4. It was a no-show on all 3 draws, so now it's being flagged for a major rebound. This one digit is basically the cornerstone of the entire strategy for today. And this chart, it lays it all out for us. You've got your ultra-hot digits, like 0 and 6, which are showing up all the time. And then you've got the frozen ones, like 1 and 8, that are way rarer, even with that surprise surge from digit 1 yesterday. Okay, so for the 2 p.m. draw, this is where the strategy really comes to life. I mean, look at this. Every single one of the top recommended combinations has that priority digit 4 baked right in. It's being paired up with those ultra-hot digits and other stable numbers to create what the system thinks are the highest probability plays. Now, this is where things get really smart. The strategy for the 5 p.m. draw actually splits into 2 different scenarios. If that priority digit 4 shows up at 2 p.m. like they think it will, the whole focus shifts. The system then starts to anticipate a double number, like that 6-6 combo you see right at the top of the list. But what happens if it doesn't show up? If the key prediction for the whole day fails to happen in that very first draw? Well, the system flags this as a critical situation, and that calls for a completely new game plan. And this is Plan B. If digit 4 is still missing after that 2 p.m. draw, it becomes a full-on emergency focus for 5 p.m. The language gets really urgent, right? 4 critical. 4 must appear. They're even suggesting a desperate double 4 play, which just shows you how vital that single digit has become to the whole day's strategy. Okay, so you've got all this data. What do you actually do with it? How do you turn all this analysis into a real betting strategy? Well, the source gives a pretty clear framework for different levels of risk. Let's check out the playbook. The playbook lays out 3 ways to play. You've got a conservative plan, which costs the least and covers about 13% of the system's top combinations. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have the aggressive strategy, which costs more but gives you much wider coverage at 26%. All right, we've talked strategy, we've talked numbers, but now we need to have a little reality check. And honestly, this might be the most important part of this entire analysis. This is where the stats hit the pavement. Look, despite all the sophisticated data we've just seen, the source is crystal clear about this. Statistically, the expected financial return from playing the lottery is negative, period. Over the long run, you are expected to lose money. 4.8%. Let that sink in for a second. That's the absolute best-case scenario for winning with the system's single top pick. And that means even with the smartest data-driven guess, there's a 95.2% chance that specific combination will not win. So let's put it all into perspective. This is exactly where that 40x number comes from. A totally random guess gives you a tiny 0.1% chance. This system is trying to boost that up to maybe 4.8%. So the goal here isn't to guarantee a win, it's to improve your odds from 1 in 1,000 to about 48 in 1,000. It's a massive relative improvement, for sure, but it's still a long shot. And that's why this part is so important. The source stresses over and over that this has to be treated as entertainment, not an investment. The core message is simple. Set firm limits. Never bet money you need for bills, and remember that no amount of analysis can ever guarantee you a win. Which brings us to our final thought. Is a system like this a powerful tool for finding a real edge? Or is it just a much more fascinating, engaging way to play a game that is ultimately pure chance? It definitely adds a compelling layer of strategy, but in the end, those lottery balls are going to land where they land. The real win might just be in having fun with the analysis itself.